episode. I am excited to have Diana here, also known as Diana Estrella. We're going to go into her story. We're going to talk about who she is, how we connected, how we met. She has a really powerful backstory as well, which is very unique. And so I want to talk about that. We're going to go into how you can connect with her and how she is beginning to create a space to just, to bring her energy into a space where others can connect with her. And I was very honored to connect with her. And she's going to share how we met and how we connected. And she's going to go into all that. So I just want to welcome her here. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello. I'm super excited. Even when I first met you, I never thought that I would be here today. Um, it's actually pretty crazy that it hasn't even been a year. So much has happened since then. Um, so yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, your energy is extremely when we connected, I just instantly knew like I didn't think we would actually go into like as deep as we did, but your energy was ready, right? Like your energy was ready, you were ready, and when somebody is ready to really go into, because you went into some of the dark shadows inside of you too, and that's like really brave work to actually go into the shadows that we carry inside of us. I mean, that's not easy, you know what I mean? And I have people who connect with me and they'll do some healing work with me, but you, on the other hand, you were like your soul and your spirit was ready to just like go all in. And I guided you as far in as you wanted to go. And so I would just love for you to share about how we connected and the work that we did together. How did that impact you? How did that show up in your life? And anything else that you feel comfortable with sharing.
Yeah, well, um, for 10 years, I was taking all these pills and medications, hoping that my symptoms for lupus and bipolarity would be at a minimum because they would never really go away. And I was at a point in my life in 2023 where it was constant hospital visits, and I was in a very bad place in my life, but there was always I always felt attracted to nature. I always felt attracted to little things when I would go to New Mexico, like crystals and herbs, and it always felt so natural and magical to me. And yeah, September of last year, my mom actually was the one that was like, let's go for an escape, to Arizona. And I guess it was my mom's way of rescuing me from the dark place that I was at in my life.
Mhm.
And just being in that land, it felt magical. It almost something very unexplainable. It's something you just have to kind of like experience. And I think that's where my awakening started to happen. And that's where I started meeting the right people. And what's fascinating is I actually met you at like a crystal shop in Sedona. And I was, I forgot what top I was wearing, but I was showing my sunflower tattoo. And you were mentioning, like, oh, wow, I've been really attracted to sunflowers lately. And kind of gave a little bit about my story. And I remember we shared information, and that was it. And when I went back to El Paso after that trip, I just remember taking a bath, and I don't know, something about being in Arizona woke something up within me that while taking that bath, I literally like visualized a little version of me, a child version of me, but unfortunately, she had her eyes closed and she did not want to open them. She was in pain. She almost looked like dead. um, and I remember crying, and this was all in the bathtub. I was crying, and I was kind of like, please wake up, please wake up. And that's when I was like, I love you, I'll take care of you. And something within me looked into your Instagram, and I saw inner child healing and all that. And I was like, whoa, what a coincidence, right? And I reached out to you and we did our first like 3 sessions. Um, and since then, so much started awakening. And also, you were there for me through a really, really traumatic experience. And I think it was also my first time in my adulthood that I meditated and prayed. There was a point in my life where I did not know how to separate religion from spirituality. I grew up in a really, strict religious, like in the Mennonite community. My family is Mennonite, and a lot of rules, a lot of religion stuff, but I don't remember really being taught to feel connected to spirit, and prayer was just kind of like speaking out loud and hoping that something would listen, if that makes sense. And yeah, by the time I became an adult and I went to college, I don't remember praying anymore until last year in September. And through those meditations, being able to visualize different inner childs, different ages of mine, and your guided meditations were wonderful because I could visualize everything almost like a dream without having to be fully asleep. And yeah, um even then, honestly, I did not think I would be where I'm at. I did not consider myself as like gifted, or or practicing my own energy work and all of that. That is still something so surreal to me. It's like, really? That's
Yeah.
me? But also, being diagnosed with bipolarity, growing up, I've always had really deep dreams and see stuff, but people would just say I was crazy, and seeing the things that you were seeing as well was like a confirmation of like, oh my gosh, it's not just me. Like this is possibly real. And the more work we did together, and I would share with you my experiences, the more I felt, wow, this is real. It's a lot of aha moments, but also it's a completely new reality that in the beginning is super confusing, to be honest, because there's this fear from the medical system of maybe I'm crazy, maybe since I'm off my medications, and it was just all this gaslighting. But thanks to you, I met my ancestors. I met so many of my guides. I started feeling them. They're literally like my team. They became my friends, and they were showing me literally like signs. And then later on I would go through an experience where it was like oh wow, they warned me about this, or they told me that this was going to happen. And it was like a just continuous confirmations of I am not crazy. This is a true connection, and they're with me. And I'm just so grateful to find that in my life, and be here now with you today, doing
Yeah.
all these things. Yeah.
Your story is like so unique because you grew up in the Mennonite community. And I have to share whenever we met in Sedona while I was there working. And you walked in, and I had just finished doing a retreat in Paladro Canyon. And my ancestors, and the picture that's behind us of the sunflowers is actually taken there in Paladro Canyon. And the sunflowers was a representation of my ancestors being there with me and speaking to me. So when you walked in, and my coworkers said, look, she has a sunflower tattoo. They knew how my ancestors spoke to me through the sunflowers. And that, I mean, that's confirmation in itself on for me
Yeah.
to talk to you and all of that. So I just wanted to share that because it was just something beautiful. The fact that you actually have this sunflower tattoo, and my ancestors had just began to speak to me through the sunflowers at the retreat. And I had just come back from the retreat, and then you showed up. Like everything was just like connecting. Yeah, and then connecting with me with going into inner child healing, which is shadow work. It's not easy, it's not fun, it's not especially when you're going through some dark things, and as a healer and as somebody who is chosen, and you have chosen to, and if you want to choose to guide others, you go into this darkness that's inside of you, like I did after I escaped a cult. I went in and did the dirty mess. I mean, it was a mess. I remember uh, going through certain shadow work. And for like 2 weeks straight, I would cry from like the depths of my soul. Like for 2 weeks, all I would do is cry this anguish because it was all of this darkness that it wasn't my fault. It was just things that had happened in our lives that we have to deal with. We don't say we say it's not okay. We don't accept that it was our fault, but we go into the dungeons of our soul and we just start purging it with light. And the beautiful thing is you do not have to do it alone, you know? So I was so happy. Like we have the land, we have the ancestors, we have the spirit team,
Yeah.
we have actual other humans, light workers that are put there in our path for us to reach out. And so I know that we were meant to connect, and then you went deeper into the mentorship. And that's like even deeper. I mean, how do you and then again, like you being in the Mennonite community, would you I mean, are you comfortable with sharing more about how that, what you shared a little bit about like the judgment or feeling shame, feeling like a bird in a cage and wanted to fly free. Do you want to share anything like that?
Yeah. Man, I feel like I think it kind of starts with my mom. I mean, I was so young and so many things I didn't fully understand. It's like this being a child, I had this innocence of not understanding why is this so wrong. Um, my mom, was the second Mennonite to get a divorce in our community, and I remember our family like not accepting us, my grandmother being really upset and my grandmother being somebody I love so much. You know, it was kind of heartbreaking, and my mom kind of just grabbing me and us running away, and her it was almost we also went through so much like culture shock. She had to be so brave to take me with her and do everything on her own. And so I'm really grateful that she did that, because even though in that moment I felt so rejected or so like, what is happening, why are we not being
How old were
protected?
you?
What was that?
How old were you whenever she
It
ran away?
started when I was like 4 years old.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm not entirely. There are still parts I don't remember fully about my childhood. I just remember okay, my mom got a divorce. We started living on our own and doing the thing and being a woman Mennonite, having a job,
Wow.
and me going to a non-Mennonite school, for example, and then visiting my family. And I love my grandmother. I don't hold this against her, but I remember this one time that my mom forgot to pack like a skirt for me or a dress to go to church with my grandmother, and my grandmother got so upset with me for only having pants, and little stuff like that. And as a kid, I didn't understand what is so wrong about these things. Like, why do I feel guilt for something I don't even know? Like, I don't even know what I'm doing wrong, And um, I also kind of like, because I was a kid and I wanted love from my family, I started hiding, and I'm almost kind of like in protection, like, even though if I liked my hair a certain way, if I would visit my family, if I would be in the Mennonite community, I would dress differently, I would speak differently, I would act differently. I couldn't talk about the music I liked. Sometimes I feel really, I still to this day kind of feel a little bit of sadness that my family never really got to know me, because I had to pretend to be a version of myself in order to kind of get along with them. Or so many moments where I would speak up about something that I did not agree with, for example, it would be like just rejection or argument, or for my mom, it would be kind of embarrassing because I would make her look bad, little things like that. So I kind of learned to just be quiet and stay quiet. And also I started hanging out with a lot of Hispanics, and I did not speak the language of my family as well either, but I understood it. But they didn't believe that I understood it, so they would talk around me in their language and I would understand, and they would say bad things about me, bad things about my mom, and I would just pretend that I did not understand, and that was actually
Mm.
really painful.
Wow.
And I did not realize, honestly, how painful that was until I started doing the shadow work and I started doing the inner child healing. It's like, wow, my inner child actually did not like that at all.
Mm.
And also, my mom, because of her Hispanic friends, she wanted me to be affectionate. She's like, oh, say hello with a kiss, say hello with a hug. And in my family, that's not really like a thing. I did hug and love my grandmother a lot. I don't know why I felt so connected to my grandmother my whole life, but even then, I still felt the need to wear all these masks and pretend to hide so many parts of myself in order to be loved. Um, but I guess I finally reached a point in my adulthood where there was so much, abuse. I was just allowing things that nobody deserves to go through. And it was kind of like wow, I'm doing this to get love. Like, is it even worth it anymore? And I just decided, you know what? I'm going to just dedicate fully in like to myself to heal and not like I did not want to worry about what anybody thought anymore about me. I wanted to finally be free, kind of like how you were describing the bird in a cage. I wanted to finally be me. And something, I guess, yeah, something within me just said kind of like I'm just going to be love. I'm just going to do things with love. And quite honestly, thank you to my guides, meeting them and starting to meet the right people. I fully trusted the universe of the right people will show up as long as I am me. And don't get me wrong, it was really hard because I did lose people. Um, but now, where I'm at now, it was completely worth it because I feel fully myself and it feels comfortable. It feels good. It feels so liberating.
And do
So
you have a relationship with your grandma?
I do,
Oh,
but she still doesn't know anything about what I do. Um, I just see the nice thing about the mentorship with you in a way, and also people that I've met in my life throughout this journey, is that because I understand energy work a little bit better, I just kind of send her love from afar. And the moments that we talk, I literally ask my guides to kind of connect with her and hope that she's feeling my energy, even though we're just, FaceTiming or something. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, and so when do you feel like your gifts like started showing up for you? Because I know you said that you had like you felt them even when you were little and they would tell you like they would name call you or they would say things about it.
Yeah. Man, that is a good question. I think I started seeing spirits as very young, quite honestly. But again, as a kid, adults will just be like, "Oh, it's just imaginary friends," or "Oh, she just has a great imagination," or even dreams. But I remember moments in my life where I would communicate, like, "Hey, I think so. I think this is gonna happen," and instead of people approaching me with curiosity of how did you know or something, it was almost like a punishment of like as somehow it was my fault. um but also in high school, unfortunately, I went through like a relationship um with someone who had a mother that told me that I was sick because I'm not a child of God. And interesting enough, it's not until last year that I realized how deeply I actually integrated that within me.
And
And
sick, when she said that you were sick, like what did she mean? Like physically sick?
yeah, because I was already going through lupus symptoms before I was even diagnosed. Yeah, I was going through a lot of stomach issues, joint pains, and And also, I was going through a lot of emotional stuff, and that's the thing about spiritual awakening. It doesn't always look pretty. It's not like oh, I'm enlightened and everything's so beautiful now. It's more like oh my gosh, I am feeling so deeply. Sometimes it's painful. There's been moments in my life, like in this journey, where I'm literally on my knees and I'm just like trying to surrender and ask my guides to help me. And unfortunately, during that time, my mom was going through stuff, and I didn't really have the friends to talk about it with, and I just got diagnosed with bipolarity. Yeah, it's kind of like it feels like psychosis sometimes, quite honestly, because it's just so much feeling. And when you don't have people available in your life to guide you through those feelings, they just want you to get over it, especially if they don't know how to deal with their own feelings. And I didn't know what to do with that. So I kind of listened. I accepted that I was crazy, and I started taking all these pills. I started, seeing a psychiatrist, but did my life get any better? No, not at all. If anything, I just kept suppressing. It's interesting how the body, I feel like the whole time, was actually trying to scream out, trying to come out, or how a friend of mine once described, to break open. But because I feared, and I let other people's words get in my head, I felt like a problem. So I did all these things to punish myself and suppress all of those things and hide and just pretend with all these masks to receive love. Yeah.
And how do you feel when we went into the mentorship? Because like from beginning inner child healing with you and going through the mentorship and graduating, you graduated in the mentorship. Um, it's like two different people almost of how
Yeah.
like the spirit's the same. The spirit was always the same, but the energy clearing and just flowing now, and you trusting yourself, like watching you come into this certainty. And I loved how you had so many questions, because I love that. I mean, that's, we all do, right? Like I have questions. Like it doesn't end. We will always have questions. And the beautiful thing is, in spirituality, we're able to figure that out and search and seek, and there's not anything wrong with that. It doesn't mean that, oh, the universe, it has something against you. Like you said, that they said, oh, you're not a child of God, so that's why you're sick. And that's just so sad, it. But it's very similar to the things I heard when I was inside of a religious organization, and that's what they taught. Like, if you weren't doing exactly what they told you to do, then God's against you, and you're going to be cursed,
Yeah.
and that's why you're going to be sick. Oh, you have an illness. It's because you're not giving, like in this organization, it's like, oh, well, you're not giving enough money. You need to give
Uh-huh.
more money. You need to give more time. Why are you sleeping? Why do you sleep? How about you don't, they would do sleep deprivation, which is a brainwashing tactic that we didn't know at the time, but this organization, which is disguised as a church, would do that. It would cause their members to not sleep. And if you look into that tactic, it's actually a really good tactic, because when you're sleep deprived, you won't think for yourself, and you're more easily vulnerable to just follow, follow, follow. So it makes sense why they would want that. So if you're tired and you're not doing things for them because you're sleep deprived, well, it's because you don't love God enough, right? Like they have all these ridiculous,
Yeah.
now we look back, but your gifts showcased during the mentorship and everything that we did together, like like, I mean, your gifts like came to the surface. Like I didn't really do anything. I was like watching you and kind of answering some
Yeah.
questions and like guiding you, but I wasn't really, you basically just surfaced. Like the authentic Diana just came forward. And I want to share how we got, if you want to share how we got Diana, how you got Diana Estrella.
Yes. Well, I think when I started meditating, with you during the meditation, that's one experience. But then I would take my bath, go to sleep, and then the days after, before the next time I would meet you, I guess because I already started feeling more connected to my guides, life honestly, it almost feels like on its own, like synchronicity or what we call coincidence. Things were just starting to happen. I was starting to see little things, but then my dreams became more vivid. But also, it all started with seeing colors. Sometimes I would do yoga, or I would try to meditate on my own, and I would start seeing colors. And I also started with like Tibetan pulsation, because in my mind before the mentorship, I just told myself, I'm just going to look for like-minded people and just see where that goes. And I met someone who teaches Tibetan pulsation, and I would show up to the classes, and I found it really interesting. And when we would pair up and practice on each other, I still had no idea what I was doing, because I did not understand what energy was. But I remember placing my fingertips on these certain points of the body, and I would close my eyes and go into meditation, and I would see colors, but I did not understand it. And what I really appreciated about your mentorship was that it was almost like yes, there are tutorials and there is guidance, but also it's a lot of exploration and seeing what it would look like for me. It wasn't like this is how it's supposed to be. It wasn't a strict system. It was more like okay, here are some, I want to, not instructions necessarily, but like guidance. Go try it out and see what your experience is like. And that's how I kind of discovered, oh my gosh, I started feeling this. Or I remember even for the first time with you, I remember doing this and feeling the energy, and I was like, no way, the tingling sensation. I was like, that's crazy, right? And I almost felt like, I think that's why maybe doing inner child healing was first, because then my inner child in me allowed me to be curious, and I almost felt like a child, exploring magic, exploring these new things. And it all came from my own self, and that was really, really fun. And yeah, it's I guess once we started rolling the ball, it kept rolling. So many of like even the practices I did with past clients, and when I would share with you, like, these are the messages I received, and you would confirm, it was just like no way I can do that, and it's almost unbelievable, but not because just all these old programs that I had to learn to let go of, but also it's like a new discovery. It's fascinating. Man, I feel like I'm going kind of like on a tangent, on experience, but I also just had the right people in my life. And in a way, I admired them. Like, I admired so much all the work that you did. And then I met people in the Tibetan pulsation class and all these events that I was going to, the work that they did, that I was like, I would like to see what I can do, how I can be a part of this world. And your mentorship allowed me to explore my gifts. And oh, during during an ancestral healing, yeah, like my ancestors, they've always called me Diana, which is so funny because I actually grew up hating that name. I never used Diana. I was always Emily. The interesting part was, okay, Diana, yes, I've seen that name in my driver's license. I've seen that name my whole life. But the fascinating part was during one of our meditations together in an ancestral healing, I envisioned this dark sky with these glowing clouds, and they were like opening up, and there was like this ray of light with like sparkles, almost like stars. And my ancestors were using the word star, like my name, Diana, and star. And even then, I was like, what does that mean? Why stars? And what's funny is that in February, I actually went to a metaphysical fair, and this random guy came up to me, and the first thing he told me was, you're kind of weird. And I thought that was really funny, but he like invited me to sit down with him and talk, and he was like, look at the stars, look up at the sky, and look deeply into the stars, right? And even then, I was like, what the heck? What the heck am I being told? Um, and in your mentorship, there was a video, about like, oh, if you don't feel accepted with your like human family, what could this mean? And that meditation, again, I was taking my bath. I had like a candle on, and I was just like, okay, show me who I really am, right? And that's when I really got to experience the, oh my gosh, I kind of come from the stars. But also in an ancestral healing, I envisioned my DNA and seeing what my ancestors wanted me to heal. And surprisingly, it was actually connected to the indigenous part of me and my DNA, which I had no idea I carried in the first place, until later on in my life. And they were dancing around me, and I envisioned these ashes and myself walking on these ashes, and plants and flowers growing, and they were just dancing around me. And they just kept calling me like Diana from the stars, and because of their language, I decided to go with Estrella because it's like Spanish. And I decided to call myself Diana Estrella. And I even remember in a meditation asking them, like, is that what you guys want me to call myself, in public as I do this work? And they're like, yes, so I went with it, and it's really
Yeah.
exciting.
I remember, like, I didn't know any of that, what you just said before. And I remember when we did one of the meditations, I heard them like say like she's Diana Starr, and I was like, what? And I just remember like, Diana Starr, I don't know if that means anything to you.
Yeah.
And so it's just like really cool that, all of that. And then I felt them say that your name was Diana Starr. And then I love that you use that because you are bilingual. So you are able to, so to use Diana today, I just think that's like, that's beautiful because it goes into your roots and it goes into your
Exactly.
blood. And so I love that.
Yeah. And what was fun too was that I remember communicating with a friend of mine actually, who I also who has helped me so much as well. I remember telling them like, man, it's because I don't know if I should pick Diana or Emily. And I remember them telling me like, no, you're supposed to use both. And I kind of got this explanation of like Diana is like the spiritual you, and Emily is like the more human you. And I was like, I wonder what that means. So it was, even that was like an exploration of its own, like of trying to understand who I am. But it's really beautiful to also experience other people seeing these parts of me, kind of like how you were saying, like, oh, people were calling me, I mean, like my ancestors were calling me this, or you were singing these messages of, oh, she's the NSJ. And it's like, huh, that's interesting. Like, what does that mean? But yeah, I'm just grateful that I had the right people to allow me to explore that, and find that out, what that truly means.
Yeah, your journey is incredible. Your story. I mean, I know we only have a short time today, but I know like if we were able to go in, and I know eventually you'll share more of your story. But I just really would love for you to share about what your goals are and as you going forward and now being at a place where connecting with others that may have a similar path as you, because especially with you being on a lot of pharmaceuticals with your physical ailments and finding whatever it is that you found. I mean, that in itself is very special because there are so many that are dealing with that. And if they're in the US, we all know the pharmaceutical, how they work here, and it's extremely expensive and it's not right, you know what I mean? And so it's very, very hard. And I want to say like with that, when I traveled abroad and I lived in Mexico for a couple months, I let me tell you one of the things I won't forget, and it's connected to pharmaceutical and like medical. um, I had to visit a doctor while I was there, and I remember the process was so damn easy that I could not believe how easy it was for me to connect with a doctor, and not only connect with the doctor, but have them prescribe me medication that was done within literally maybe 30 minutes of me being able to get in with the doctor, them prescribe me my medication. An amazing doctor, female doctor, give me prescribe me medication. I was able to go pick it up, and the whole entire process in American dollars probably cost me I want to say maybe $20. It's like 25 dollars, and I was in shock. Like, I remember the pharmacist telling me, oh, and I'll give, in Spanish she told me, I'll give you this as well, I'll add this with this because it'll help with your symptoms. And I said, oh, well, how much is that going to be? And in my head I'm thinking, this is going to be like this could be hundreds of dollars. And
Mm-hmm.
I will never forget when she gave me the price in American money. It was probably like $20. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, I had this whole, like, the whole medical process was so easy. Getting prescribed medication, super affordable. The whole process, meeting with this female doctor, affordable. Getting medication, affordable. So simple, so quick. They were on it, they were caring. And I think that I will never forget that experience, because it just made me really sad to think that's not the way it is in, in the US. And that's not the way it is. It just seems like it's really hard. Not once did they ask, oh, well, wait, like, insurance, and wait, we got to go buy your insurance, and none of that. It was like, what do you have? Like, what's going on, and how can we help you? And okay, and giving me the choice. I just had to share that, because that was something that I haven't shared with many people when I came back from living visiting abroad. And so yeah, so I know that your story, I feel like, is going to impact people, especially in that way, of people that are dealing with a lot of physical issues, and you had the medical bills and you had the medical trauma, and having to deal with that. Like, that is a story in itself. If I allowed, if we had time for you to share just that, I mean, that could probably go on for another 30 minutes of how you dealt with that. But I know that I just want people to connect with you. I want to introduce you. This is what I'm doing here, is introducing everybody who's watching, who's going to watch the replay, or maybe one day you'll watch this, later. Somebody will find this that needs to connect with you. And how can they connect with you? Where can they find you? What are you doing to connect with people in this in the space that you're at right now?
Well, with what you said, something I do want to say really quick is precisely coming from being diagnosed with lupus and all these mental disorders. And literally, there were moments in my life where I was ready to give up on life, like straight up. And I'm glad that didn't happen. But letting go of my medications, even last year in the summer, so many people were like, this is crazy. You're going to get sick. I remember my last infusion in October. I was crying going to the infusion, because I was telling myself that this is the last time. But I told myself this is the last time, and the only reason why I'm doing this last infusion was because I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to fully trust that I'm going to figure it out. And this is since October, and it's not even a year, and I'm doing literally the most I've ever done in my life. This is the healthiest I have been my entire life, and it's all with energy work, with spiritual healing, but also lifestyle changes. And everybody's body is different, and even the muscle testing, even my own guide's kind of telling me, eat this way, or put this in your body. It's amazing. And I just want to communicate that it works. It works. And I'm not just saying it because, oh, it sounds pretty, it's woo-woo. Like, I studied biochemistry and microbiology and all the things, and being in the medical field. I mean, not being in the medical field, but working with all these doctors, like multiple doctors, this is the first thing, and this is the first time in my life that something actually worked, and it was exponential the way I healed. But I also fully dedicated myself to that. So for those of you who are scared or afraid of taking the step of leaving the medical world and the pharmaceuticals, don't get me wrong. Like, I know that doctors are important, and some medications can save lives, right? Like if you get into a car accident, you're bleeding and stuff. We do need doctors, and I do not. I'm not trying to communicate that, oh, we should shame them, or no, like they are necessary. It's just they're not the long-term solution. Everything is connected to your genetics. Everything's connected to past lives and even past generations. And when you fully trust and do the work, it works. You see the results. And I just speak from my own experience. This is the first time in my life I feel my age. I'm 28, and I no longer tell people that I feel like a 98-year-old, So for those of you who are afraid, I want to just communicate, like, trust me, it works. It actually works. But as far as finding me, I am on Instagram and on Facebook. I believe I'll be like kind of included um, in this video. And man, I'm in the process of practicing my gifts because I want to be a part of love and light in this world. And my main goal, I think, is connecting people to their consciousness and kind of be a bridge between shadow and light, and being a bridge between this dimension and spirit, because a lot of people don't know exactly what to expect or what it looks like. Because honestly, even myself, when I first started all of this, I had no idea what to expect or what it would look like. And I started working with very advanced people like yourself, and I was having people in my life that had no experience at all. So I was kind of like in the middle, but I take that as a blessing, because now I get to see both perspectives, and I get to be that bridge. And that's my main goal. And I want people to feel that magic in a way. So, and I guess with practice, the more I practice, the more I can spread this love and light that I feel so much in my heart. And just human consciousness is so beautiful. It's so amazing. And most of us are just programmed. We think, oh, all the shame and, oh, there's all these things wrong. No, there's nothing wrong with you. You were just programmed, and your brain is kind of like a computer. And you can heal. The things that can change. Just the first step is awareness and consciousness. And when you learn to connect the things that teach you who you really are, and then you get to choose who you want to be, it's just so powerful and amazing. And it's just magical. And I want more people to experience that. So right now, I can do readings, like with cards. I can do channeling, guided meditations, and even some energy work, but it would all be donation based for now, because it's practice, but with the goal of finding more about my gifts and the things that I can do, so more and more people can experience what I experienced in the sense of like waking up and seeing this beautiful new world. um
Mm.
yeah, because so many of us, we drive to work and we're stressed. We feel tension in the neck. We're anxious and we can't eat. And nobody deserves to feel that way. And I kid you not, there are moments at work now that I'm like having laugh attacks. And it's so easy. And ironically, it's without all these medications, and I was told that I was clinically depressed, that my brain literally couldn't make the chemicals to be happy. And now literally having laugh attacks and having all these beautiful magical moments, even with my guys, is just like, wow, that is so crazy. I can't even believe I actually went through that. So I just want more people to experience and kind of guide them. I want to grab
Yeah.
people's hand and guide them. And actually, I had a vision recently. I was like in the bathtub. I don't know why some of my biggest experiences happened in the bathtub while taking baths, but I pictured myself in this ocean, and it was just dark, and the waves were like controlling me. And then I landed in this piece of land with this big, big tree, and the roots started like hugging me and kind of crawling all over me. And I was shining. I was like light. And the tree was lighting, and then these dark bodies kind of started rising from the ocean, from the waves, and it's all dark, and they're dark bodies. And I know this sounds creepy, but the thing is, I wasn't scared. And when these bodies touched me, they started turning into light. And when other bodies started touching those bodies, they started turning into light, and it became this spider web of light.
Wow.
And then it's like that light came back to me and this tree, and then this tree shined so bright because of all of the spider web, right? Or this web of light, that it turned into a beam of light into the sky, and everything was just lighting up. And that's kind of how I see myself in the world, is that I just want to be light and spread light, and for those people to spread more light and more light and more light.
Yes.
And yeah.
And there are some people that have connected with you. Ashley was just on here, and I shared her comment. She said here that I'm so happy for you as someone who's gotten the honor of working with you. I know how amazing you are, and I can't wait to see more.
Thank
And
you.
and there another I know there I don't have it on my phone right now, but somebody else had worked with you as well during your mentorship, and Tiffany, and she also, was it Tiffany or somebody else? I can't remember. Or
Yeah.
you told me you're somebody you worked with, your cousin or something, but I know
Well,
that you have gotten reviews, during this mentorship, not only with Ashley, but and with me as well. And you interned with me during an ancestral healing as well. And during the intern, when you interned with me during an ancestral healing with permission with a person during the ancestral healing, you picked up on some things that I had picked up on, and it was just confirmation that your abilities, your channeling, your intuitive abilities, all of that was just it was exploding and it's almost as if this is something that's always been inside of you, but now with acceptance and confidence it's just showing up more. So yeah, so I if anybody who's watching, I do refer, because my work now isn't really with tarot or cards. It's I have other people that have been with me since the beginning, and sometimes I'll reach out, and because they just love the way that I do it, and so I'll do it for them. But I usually don't do that much anymore. Now I'm into the ancestral bloodline healing. So I am referring them over to you. And so for those that want to do readings, channeled messages from your spirit guides or from your higher self. Here's Diana Estrella. She's doing them right now for donation based. She's going to be officially booking. So you
yes.
guys find her on Facebook and Instagram, and find her there. And I know she also has, what is your name on Instagram?
Um, I think it's just Diana Emily,
Okay.
but
All
I
right.
might change it with all of this, so that's kind of something to keep it as an update. Um,
Okay.
so
Perfect.
after this video, I know for those who will be watching later and all that, it'll show up as
Yeah, we're gonna put that all in below, and then your Facebook is Diana Estrella.
Mhm.
And do you have an email that you want to share or no?
Yes, it's actually joyful hummingbird Diana at gmail.com.
Okay, perfect. We'll add that below as well. We'll get all that set up for you, and then if anybody, they can also message me, and I'll give them your contact information to reach you, and send them over your way, because right now, she's building her skills and her gifts, which are amazing, and Coming from me, I definitely, and not just because you worked with me, but also because you did work with me. I know your legitimacy. I know your authenticity. And so I'm honored to allow others to connect with you, if they feel drawn to you, donation based, as she builds her portfolio and her business. So I'm super excited for you. Do you have anything else you want to share?
Honestly, I just want to express gratitude because, quite honestly, in the beginning, it was pretty scary to go public about this, precisely because I fear judgment. And it's just an honor to be here with you, and work with you, and in a way, not literally holding my hand through this, but it's like, thank you so much for giving me a safe space to share this about myself with the public, and to finally get started with my purpose in life. So I'm really grateful for that. I just want to express a lot of gratitude. Your work is amazing, and yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I love your spirit. I know we were meant to meet, and I am so glad that everything that we've gone through, even the things behind the scenes that nobody will ever know, eh, that those parts, those things as well, your brave work, your and having to go into some deep dark things that we all have to, and it's horrible. I hate it. I hate the fact that we have to go through things that are very disgusting and sad, and it just, but you know what, one thing that, when to see people rise up from that, when people hear my story and they're just like, oh my gosh, how did you survive that? And I'm like, wait, how did I survive that? Like, how do we, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you do, and you get to that chapter of your life where not everything's great and perfect, but you now understand what it is that you're here to do, and you just start doing it, man. Like, when I remember at the beginning of my healing work, and I was practicing and I practiced and I did my healing work for like love donations and things, because I knew something was going on inside me, but I just didn't know what it was. And when I would hear these testimonies of people like, oh my gosh, like, how did you know these things? How are you, receiving this information from me? And everything was just like confirmed. That's the beginning process, and it's confusing. You don't understand what's going on, but you're awakening, you're awakening. And to see you flourishing like a butterfly, and just going out there and being like, you know what? I don't have life figured out. I don't neither. Like, you know what I mean? But the beautiful thing is that you don't have to have it figured out. You are just helping others and guiding others with boundaries, right? We always want boundaries. We don't want to be taken advantage of. We're still powerful enough to be like, no, that's just not for me. I'm not going to do that. Just, it's not always love and light. Sometimes we will speak up for the injustices. We will speak up for things that are not okay. So I'm just grateful to have connected with you, and I can't wait to see you continue to rise up and to see others connect with you. So again, guys, this is Diana Estrella, also Diana Emily. Find her on Facebook and Instagram. We're going to have her information below. If you absolutely want to connect with her, you're having a hard time finding her, reach out to me. I will send you her information and help you get to her, because it's incredible work. She's doing incredible work.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. I'm really looking forward to what this will, develop. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, perfect, Diana. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, thank you guys for showing up on this episode. Please share. And thank you all until next time. Bye bye.